Hey there, Crow Space Boy here, and it's time for another episode of... And that's my tutorial for how to get around a title full of alliteration. Now before you click away, I know that's not the tutorial you came here for. Let's talk about option selects. You like option selects, yeah? I mean, you're subscribed to a Street Fighter based channel. Boy howdy have you guys made option selects for your games. You're going to be happy to know that because of the set knockdown within Pokkén and with the very lenient buffer within the game, there are a lot of option selects, and we said we were going to focus on Lucario and branch out from there. Let's talk about Bone Rush. This is my impression of every Lucario that you're going to run into when you first start playing Pokkén Online. It doesn't matter what range you stand at, it doesn't matter what phase you're in, it doesn't matter what time of day it is. Lucario is going to throw Bone Rush at you. It's one of his main combo winders, it has a lot of range, it's 13 frames, which is jab speed, and it has a lot more range than most jabs. It's a good screen-munching, high-priority attack. 6A tends to be the first main special move that people will use for their characters. Lucario is no exception. Bone Rush is just one of those moves that a new player sees it and says, I want to use that. 6As typically advance forward in some way. They're usually attacks, and many of the generic 6As in Pokkén have multiple options from it. Lucario is really the perfect case study in looking at 6As because you can beat every single option on block with the exact same input and awareness. So there's three possible outcomes when you block a Bone Rush. Either he does the upswing, which is unsafe, every character should get a grab or their fastest poke option. He could do the downward slam, which you can counterattack, or he just does nothing at all, which is even more unsafe and you get at least jab punishes, if not better. So what's the option select? You literally just block the first hit of Bone Rush, and then you buffer in your counterattack. The block mechanic in Pokkén is very lenient. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm convinced that when you hold guard and block the first hit of a string and then let go of guard, the game will auto guard for you for a certain number of frames. It's very easy to see this with Bone Rush. Just block the first hit and then let the rest of it rip, and you'll block everything up until he does one of the two enders. And that's what makes this so easy. You block Bone Rush, you sit there and personally I double tap counterattack. If they ever do Bone Slam or the upward swing, counterattack always comes out and counters it. If they don't do either of those, the game still protects me by guarding for me, and then you, depending upon the character, you do whatever, but I usually just grab. It's a simple and easy solution, and my brain can keep up with it. And if we take what we know from this, you can apply it to the vast majority of 6As in the game with various levels of effectiveness. Another example is Blaziken's Blaze Kicks. You can block the first hit, duck underneath the kick follow-up, and then you just stand back up and block the Flare Blitz. Or, conversely, some characters have anti-airs that will beat both options. So you block the first hit, duck, and then do your anti-air, and you beat everything. Just like Lucario, both of these moves have options where if you're aware of the situation, you can just blow it up and they can't use it as a brainless neutral tool. There's some characters that have significantly better 6As than others. Decidueye is the most obvious example because he has the soaring stance cancels, but even then, you can defeat the vast majority of the options that Decidueye can do, just using him as an example, and turn what could be a dizzying amount of options into essentially a 50-50 if your opponent is even aware of what you're doing. If your opponent doesn't know what you're doing, and you're shutting down all the options that they like to use, maybe they won't even get to the point where they can play this mental game with you. They'll be too busy trying to figure out what the heck your option is beating. And this option select is just referring to how to beat 6As and stance mix-ups and things like that. We haven't even begun to talk about Okizumi or safe jumps. Oh, rest assured, those are in this game too. And if you're a creative player, if you are a lab monster, then this is a game you could lose a lot of time in. What can you come up with? Next time you run into a problem playing this game, go into training mode, see what you can find out. So that about covers it for Bone Rush, and in the middle of learning Bone Rush, you also learned about the extended block stun of Pokkén. Let's keep moving around the wheel of Lucario's special moveset. A lot of you are probably Street Fighter players, or at least have a background in 2D games. I am willing to bet you're familiar with a Dragon Punch. We're going to talk about Lucario's equivalent of that. So next time you and I see each other, we're going to be talking about a move called Extreme Speed. See you then.